What's up, guys? Can't flip for ship here. Today's video is just a quick video where I wanted to talk about, some things that I noticed in this hobby. It's been going on for so long now that I've been in it that I started to feel like some of the people that were big when I first got into the hobby are no longer really making stuff anymore. And it's just interesting, the longevity of a hobby. How do you become somebody who lasts in this game? And I think the answer is a little bit different than I maybe would have wanted to hear, or that you guys might typically think. But I was thinking about it and I realized there's a lot of people who have been doing this for a really long time, and not everyone has the same levels of longevity, obviously. But when you are a creator, in this hobby, you really are kind of pigeonholed into a few things. You make, okay, if I mess this one up, I'm just gonna end the video. Everybody lock in. Okay. Video continues. But yeah, you kind of have your niche and your things, and I think it's interesting because you can make tutorials, you can make reviews, you can make all kinds of content when you're new, advice, tips, little things that you learn that you find important. But eventually everybody gets to that point, right, where you're like, what do I talk about now? What is there to talk about for somebody who has covered it all? And I think this is one of those hobbies that's got a lot to talk about at the start, but like anything else, you have diminishing abilities once you get later on into it to talk about things, because there's only so much to cover, right? There's only so much to talk about in terms of this hobby, especially. I mean, all we're doing is flipping a knife around, right? But yeah, so that's kind of like the interesting part about it. And at the start, I remember having an idea all the time. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I used to actually have a notes app in my phone that I would write in all the things that I wanted to talk about, and there were so many that I had to write a different one down, because I was like, I'm never going to be able to get them all. And so I would write down in my little app about what I felt like I wanted to cover. And I was going back over it today because I was lost for content, and I was like, you know what, there's some good shit in here, but there's also some shit that I'm actually glad I never made a post about. But yeah, so all that's to say that at this point, I only really make a video whenever I just feel like talking about something, or when I have something to review. And all the other bigger channels that are out there that I see, you have Pez flips, but people from my eras, like Will Hirsch and stuff like that, people that are a little bit OG more to this hobby, or at least that were whenever I was into it. And hell, even they've made less content as of recently. But I've kind of noticed that all of the people that last long, Blade Bias and them, they all have this thing where the primary thing that they do with their channel is review Balisongs, right? Because Balisongs are always going to be coming out, regardless of the tricks, right? There's only so many tricks you can do. There's only so many tricks people have the capacity to learn, right? If you really want to learn, it's an endless endeavor, because there's a lot of tricks out there, and there's a lot of ways to do them. There's a lot of advancements in the field of this kind of stuff, because people want to get good. But from a perspective of the average person doesn't want to learn every single fucking trick that's out there, right? They just want to learn the main things, the main popular tricks, right? And so after you've made all of those videos, which I'm one of those guys who pretty much has, I've made most tutorials for the basic tricks that people want to learn, and there's nothing else, right? But with reviews, there's always going to be reviews coming out. There's always going to be, there's always going to be new Balisongs, new tech. So in a collecting hobby where it's collecting based and skill based, you really have a lot more longevity being somebody who is more on the collecting side, just because you're going to have the ability to constantly have a flow of content to make. I mean, look at Blade Bias. They have all these videos of Balisongs that come out, because they basically have access to almost every Balisong that there is, whether it be by being gifted or sent them. So it sort of keeps the channel alive. Whereas, you know, if you're a smaller creator and you don't have access to those things, it can get difficult for you at times. Like, you know, being somebody who personally has never had you know, a sponsorship from a company, I know that it's difficult to constantly do reviews. And I think, you know, it's interesting how you have these guys who are, you know, big reviewers and stuff like that, like Pez Flips and stuff, which he's really good as well with tutorials and stuff. But so I'm not trying to pigeonhole him or say that he is one way or not, but just he's the first guy that comes to mind. And you know, it's like interesting because it's like even some of these guys, like these newer, smaller guys like Soarman and stuff that I see coming onto the scene, I start to notice that they are kind of even reviewing clones, which you know, it seemed like for a while the hobby was moving away from. But it's because, you know, there's a lot of clones coming out, right, that people want to know about. They want to know about, like, you know, what's good and what's not good. And you know, that's just more content that you have, you know, that's available to you. And why would you not partake in it? You know what I mean? So it's just interesting where the hobby's gone, and, you know, what it means to have longevity in a market like this. It's interesting. So I know this is sort of a random post, but it's just something I was kind of thinking about. And I was like, you know, all of the YouTubers and all of the content makers for this hobby, this small community that have a lot of longevity, are really big into reviews. Another great example is like a guy who used to be really big, kind of took a hiatus and came back, and is now resurfacing and, you know, getting back into the content, is Ghost Flips, who I didn't know about until recently. But when somebody was like, you flip like Ghost Flips, and I was like watching his channel, I was like, dude, like, I've literally never watched this guy, and we do like pretty much very similar of tricks, or like, you know, a very similar of style that we both have. So that was kind of cool. Shout out Ghost Flips, which he doesn't need a shout out because he's a pretty big channel, but yeah, so that was interesting to me. And but even him, you know, he's a guy who used to be, you know, fairly big, and I noticed that as he's been coming back, you know, he's had little tutorials here and there, but the success really comes from having, you know, a surplus of, you know, he's getting new Balisongs and trying new Balisongs out, and doing content with them, because you know, you can get a lot of content out of a new Balisong. And so it's just really cool to see how a creator who is, you know, big and is in this modern field kind of goes about making, you know, their content now that the hobby is, you know, different. And I think, you know, another thing too is we do have a surplus of people who are making affordable budget Balisongs. There's almost too many to even review at this point, right? If you're including the clones and everything, it seems like a new thing comes out all the time. So if you have money, or, you know, if you market yourself well and are able to get sponsorships or, you know, stuff like that, I think it's a good time to be a content creator in this hobby, just because you there's a lot of products coming out, a lot of great opportunities to make content. People want to know what's out there. They're very interested. But if you're somebody who does not want to be a review channel, such as myself, where, you know, I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind making reviews, but it's not your primary focus, or, you know, you kind of wanted to find your own niche. You know, you look at the biggest creator to ever be that in this hobby. Two of them, right? For the tutorial side, it's Big Flips, and for the like just walking, talking, flipping side is Balisong Flipping. Those guys really don't make much content anymore, right? So, you know, there is eventually an end, right? There's only so many tricks to learn, and there's only so many things to talk about without kind of pigeonholing yourself into becoming political or, you know, upsetting your audience. So it's, you know, it's one of those things where if you're somebody who's starting a new channel and you're thinking to yourself, like, where do I want to take this? What direction do I want to go with this? My recommendation to you would be to start with the reviewing and build your reviewing skills, because that's what's gonna quote unquote pay the bills in this type of hobby. And, you know, people will have arguments in the comments about, you know, oh shit, I can't even flip, about, you know, what what other ways you can make content and have longevity. But I think for me, you know, I think I feel pretty solidified in the fact that I think I think I've got it down about what in this hobby is very important. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you disagree, if you agree. But fuck, oh my god. Fuck, my Parkinson's is setting in early. Guys, I'm already an unk, so it might be time to call it. No, realistically, my hands get tired of flipping after a long while, especially because I've been flipping all weekend, actually. But yeah, guys. Also, if you were a Mega Monkey, the guy who won the giveaway, you gotta message me, man. Message me somewhere. Just reach out to me, because I have your Balisong waiting. I'm low-key waiting to ship the other ones because of you. And I want to get all that shipped out and get stuff to you because you did win the giveaway, and I don't want to have to give it away to someone else. But if you don't answer me back within too long, I might have to. But ow, what the fuck? Yeah, so that's all I really have, guys. Yeah, let me know what you think, and let me know what kind of content you like to make if you are a content creator, or what it's been like as a new creator. I would love to have an open discussion about what it's like to be a creator now, you know, because I think I'm like established enough to where I'm okay with how many followers I have. I'm not really trying to grind too hard about like gaining new followers, but at the same time, it is cool to see what new people are on about. You know, if you have 100 followers or 1,000 followers, I would love to hear what you think. Rock on.